Big Brother 27's Ava Pearl reveals whether she regrets picking Vince in White Locust twist. The aura painter also says she confronted Keanu earlier in the season to make a point to the other house guests. Ava Pearl's Big Brother 27 philosophy can amount to one Rhett Butler paraphrase: "Frankly, I don't give a damn." Whether aura painting or aura farming, Ava's social game was immediately palpable in the house, making her one of the most well-liked people throughout the entire season. But she made sure to prove she wasn't spending the summer just coasting on vibes. For example, she was a key vote to help flip Vince Pinaro and Zach Cornell to not force a tie, instead turning on their allies to evict Adrian Rocha. And Ava repaid them in kind when she became Ho only a couple of weeks later. Her straightforward approach to the game manifested in her nominations, as she nominated the two of them alongside Keanu Soto, and even called out Vince for all of the alliances he had made so far. It was a major turning point in a season chock full of them, as one of the frontrunners to take it all was taken out. Ava then spent the rest of the pre-jury shoring up some tight relationships with people like Rachel Riley, Clifton, Will Williams, Lauren Domingue and Kelly Jorgensen, and things were looking bright at the yellow flower that adorned her hats. But, like many people's games, that all changed at the White Locust. Ava won safety, as well as the first choice of who would play in a high-stakes competition. While she had made a final two deal with Rachel, she was offended by the former winner's forcefulness, and also didn't want to make a move that would put a target on her. And so, surprisingly, she once again called out Vince, this time as a favor. Ava would have no idea, in that moment, how much this twist would have her game spinning out like the hamster wheel of death. Rachel was shockingly taken out in the twist, partially done in by Ava's decision, a choice the latter would talk about ad nauseum throughout the rest of her time in the house. And power began to slowly coalesce around the duo of Vince and Morgan Pope, as they kicked off a streak of trading off competition wins. Ava could only sit idly by like a stagnant 50-day cup of lemon water as she watched her allies get taken out one by one. At the final four, despite being on the block for the fourth time in a row, there was still hope that, with the right wins, she and Ashley Hollis could break down the pillow barrier separating them from the other two. Unfortunately, Morgan took home the win in both competitions, securing their place on the block. And it was, of all people, Vinny the Lip who had the last word in sending Ava out, but not before she called a house meeting and used her eviction speech to take one last shot at him. Now in the jury house, Ava talks with Parade about why she chose to call a house meeting right before her eviction, how she looks back on her White Locust choice, and the reason she chose to confront Keanu so publicly. Talk to me more about your intention in calling a house meeting before the eviction. Did you debate doing it earlier in the week, or taking a different tactic? So my intentions with calling the house meeting was pretty much just, well, I knew I was going out the door, and I don't think that I could have done a different strategy. They were in an alliance. I now know there's nothing I really could have done. So I figured, if I'm leaving, might as well go out with a bang. You had a final two with Rachel, but you decided not to pick her in the White Locust twist, something you've talked about not regretting numerous times since. Talk to me about what led to you picking Vince. And how do you feel about Rachel now? Pause. What led me to picking Vince was the fact that Lauren wanted to go in the wheel, and Rachel told me not to pick her. So I figure if I pick Vinny, then he has to make that choice, and he picked Lauren, so it was my way of kind of avoiding getting blood on my hands and kind of passing the buck off onto him. And retrospectively, I don't think I regret my decision, because maybe I wouldn't have made top 4 if I had made a different one. You went from confronting Keanu when he told you, I believe you have a prompt, during the veto ceremony to forming a final 3 with him before his eviction. What made you decide to confront him in that moment, and how do you look back on your relationship? It wasn't so much what he said, but how he said it, and it was rude. And I felt like if I stood there and took it, the other house guests would know. Hey, Ava's just the kind of person that people can talk to her any way that they want. And they can't. But yes, we did end up having a final 3. And frankly, my relationship with Keanu on a personal level, chilling. And no problems personally. You have not been one to mince words with Vince, whether saying he was planting seeds in your nomination speech or busting his chops in your eviction speech. Talk to me about your relationship and thoughts on his game as Vinny the Lip. On a personal note, I don't think he's a bad guy whatsoever. On a game level, I just think he lied a bunch to a lot of people and unnecessary lies. So, yeah, I don't know. We've had a long road. And hey, he got me in the end. What are you gonna do? Finally, give me your rapid-fire thoughts on each of the remaining house guests. Starting with Ashley.